What is going on, New York Giant fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Big Blue in the Bronx podcast. I hope you guys are doing well on this Wednesday. Hit the like button, comment, and subscribe. Turn on post notifications so you know when a live stream pops or a video drops. Share this out, do all the good stuff. Share this out on the podcast platforms too, because obviously we're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere you get your podcasts. So, the New York Football Giants are traveling to Dallas for the first time in 2 years on Thanksgiving. And, compared to 2 years ago, where this might have been a decently attractive game with Daniel Jones and Dak Prescott, and that game wasn't too bad. That's where I say it. Now you're looking at this game and either you don't want to watch this game if you're a Cowboy or a Giants fan, or you're in the scenario of I'm going to throw up my turkey, my mashed potatoes, my mac and cheese, my stuffing, my baked yams if I do watch this game. And, we're all subject to it because I guess we're fans. And, if you don't want to tune in, don't tune in. You tune in. But, we'll get into the injury report. We'll get into the usual stuff. Unfortunately, I don't have a guest. Our guy, David Howman, is traveling for Thanksgiving, so I was unable to get another Cowboys person for the show. But I'll try to do that for the Saints next week, and then I think we play the Ravens after that, and then the Falcons, or the Falcons and the Ravens. It's like two birds back to back, and then the faster we go, the faster we, come to the end of the year. And, people talk about what they're thankful for. I'm thankful for that, this football year is almost over because we have 6 more games of garbage football to watch. Whether the coach is fired or the coach is not fired, this team, to be honest with you, I don't think is going to come inspired by a coach getting fired. Maybe they do, but I think we are past this team rejuvenating itself because it seems like they've checked out. So, in terms of Brian Daboll, now I was going to add this to the end of the show after the score prediction, but I'm like, why have everybody wait till the end of the show when I could just talk about it at the beginning of the show, because it's far more interesting than some of the stats and whatever. I think Brian Daboll needs to have this team within a score, maybe even 2 scores competitively on Thanksgiving in terms of the game result. I don't see them winning this game. It would be very interesting to see if this team lost by a lot on Thanksgiving to a very poor Dallas team, because they're not just out their quarterback. They are out their left guard, and they are out their right guard. And they're also missing their number 1 corner. Now, the last one really doesn't matter because, well, guess what? The Giants don't score points anyway. The Giants don't have capable quarterback play. So, but, you look at the defense, which is supposed to be this vaunted defense, hasn't gotten a sack in 2 weeks, has had 1 sack in 4 weeks, essentially, right? 1 in the Panthers game, nothing in Washington, and nothing on the bye week, of course, and nothing against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So that's where the Giants brass needs to see improvement. I think that's where people who want to really look at something and go into next year, they want to see improvement. And I think it's not just about your team playing competitive against a shitty Dallas team. It's about not embarrassing yourself on national television, because this is not, it's where it's red zone where you can switch in between these games. No, the Giants play at 4:30, and they're the only team that's on 4:30 with the Cowboys, and that's it till 8:30 or 8:20, and whatever game that is. I think that's Miami and Green Bay, or that's the early game. No, I think usually the early game is Bears-Lions, so we'll see about that. But I think it's about three things. We'll cross those three things, and then we'll get into everything else because I know I'm talking in circles a little bit, kind of like Robert Saleh. Is number one, you can't get embarrassed on national television. So that kind of plays into two, where you have to play competitive. And the other thing is that your team has to play well where it has played well, if you want to even stretch that. Your defense can't give up 30 points. That can't happen. 25 points even. This is Cooper Rush, and we get it, right? Last week, they played a very grit and grind game with the Washington Commanders, and the Commanders, as good of a team as they are still trying to figure out how to win. They kind of remind me of the 22 Giants, but it seems like there's a little bit more sustained success on that side of the football. So there's that. But, that game was not much, Cooper Rush is dominating the other side of the football. Like, you even look at the rushing category, and it's not great. It was a matter of Washington committing their own mistakes, Austin Seibert missing a field goal, the defense not being just great in general, and also the two turnovers. I think it was actually three that they had, Washington. The two interceptions by Jaden Daniels, and you also had a fumble by John Bates. So, that's where that comes in. And CeeDee Lamb, again, you look at the stats. Cooper Rush, 247, 2 touchdowns, 7.7 yards per attempt. 91 total yards on the ground by 5 different players. And you had CeeDee Lamb, who was the lead receiver, along with Shoemaker, for 67 and 55 yards respectfully. So it's not like they went off for some tear. They didn't. And this is a team, right, that they're not really, playing with, they're playing with every single guy that they have. No, Jake Ferguson, he has a concussion. It doesn't look like he's going to play. Jalen Tolbert is one of their starting receivers. You got Jonathan Mingo and Ryan Flournoy picturing in. As I mentioned, the secondary. And Brandon Cooks is on IR. So there really isn't a reason that there's no legitimate excuse. And I know this is the New York Football Giants. There is no legitimate excuse for you to get blown out this game, which could effectively be the end of Brian Daboll. Now, if you would ask me, right, Alex, do you think Brian Daboll is going to get fired at the end of the year? I would say yes, because I don't think there's that many games on the schedule that you could win. A, B, I think that was a huge showing last week of the locker room giving up on Brian Daboll and Malik Neighbors talking and saying, go to Brian Daboll, go ask him why I didn't get the reps. So that's what the Giants have to do. Again, I know I'm circling myself here. They can't get embarrassed on national television for the sake of being the joke of the NFL. And they have to be strong in their strengths. They have to play good defense. They have to have a solid running game. Your pass game, I don't think is going to work, but there are ways around it if you choose. And you gotta fight in the trenches. It's essentially that, because again, on that side of the football, and it seems like both offensive lines are very depleted, right? The Giants don't have their starting tackles. It's going to be Chris Hubbard, which honestly might be better than Josh Azudu, considering a couple of different things we'll get into. So you have Chris Hubbard and Evan Neal paired up alongside the Washington Cowboys D-line, and then you got our D-line, which is supposed to be vaunted, against Brock Hoffman and TJ Bass in the interior. So we'll see how that plays out. But here is the injury report for the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Football Giants. As far as the Giants, let's review that first. Tay Banks limited, DJ Davidson limited. I don't really expect them to be, out for the game. I think they'll play. We'll go back to DeVito. Jermaine Lemonor did not practice, quad injury. I don't think he's going to play. Theo Johnson limited. Full practice for Lawrence with the knee injury. Limited Micah McFadden. That's a little concerning. Evan Neal limited. He did not practice on Monday, even though it was a walkthrough session. Newbin limited. Ojulari is now on IR. the Giants signed Greg Dulcich, which is kind of interesting, but it's also like a bigger indictment on Joe Shane himself. I'll get into that in a second. And Armon Watts did not practice, and he's been decent as a run defender. And why I say, and we'll go back to DeVito in a second, but why I say Dulcich is an indictment on this regime is because you claimed waivers, right? You got him, Dulcich, via the Broncos in a waiver claim. And you have Daniel Bellinger, Chris Manhertz, and Theo Johnson. I highly doubt you picked up Dulcich because Theo Johnson is limited in practice. You probably picked up Dulcich because you need some... Now, I'm going to guess he's a better receiver than he is a blocker. That's at least the way he was at UCLA. And he was one of the top tight ends of the class, if you guys remember. And he was drafted in the Nate Hackett regime for the Denver Broncos. But you have Theo Johnson, Bellinger, Manhertz, and Dulcich. I'm telling you right now, $20, not really, but just as a euphemism, $20, Daniel Bellinger will be inactive on game day. Which, to be honest with you, really doesn't make a lot of sense. Because, first of all, you could say, well, they got another tight end because they'll need some 2 tight end, 3 tight end sets with these tackles being garbage and Elemenor not playing. Well, I mean, Tyree Phillips should know the system, right? Tyree Phillips should at least have a hint of the system. He's on the practice squad. Why don't you sign him? I mean, you got Chris Hubbard in here really quickly to play against Pittsburgh. Why can't Tyree Phillips do the same thing? And Phillips has been in here longer than Chris Hubbard was before he started against Pittsburgh. So that's a little puzzling. But I also don't understand why you need 4 tight ends, even if we had Elemenor as the tackle. It's just kind of strange in the optics. So I'm going to predict that the Giants probably make Daniel Bellinger inactive. And I just don't see why they would make Manhertz the inactive guy. I really don't, because they've never done that. He has one of the passing touchdowns this season. Let me see if there's a snap count. I could go off last game. So Bellinger had 8 snaps and Manhertz had 25. So I will say this again, and I'll zip my lips. I really don't know what Daniel Bellinger did to Brian Daboll and Joe Shane. But I feel like he's going to be one of those players that succeeds on another team. And we circle back to this and we're like, well, he didn't succeed here because the coaching staff never put him in a spot after year 1. So there's that. Now, as far as Tommy DeVito goes, right, as far as he goes, I would rather not play him injured because he said Monday he said he was like somewhat decent. And then day 2, Tuesday, he says, oh yeah, my whole body's sore. So unless you're trying to kill Tommy DeVito or make some sort of a move to where, I don't even know, like you can't even explain it, Drew Lock really should be your starter. I don't, maybe I don't know. There's like so many interesting avenues that you could take that you have to put a tinfoil hat on. Maybe they said, hey, DeVito, just say you're injured so we don't look bad for the Lock experiment, and that DeVito, that, we don't look bad because we knew you were trash or something like that. Like, make your own theory up in the comment section. But I think it's puzzling a little bit. That doesn't distract everybody from saying that Drew Lock should be the starter, though. And we'll likely get to see Drew Lock. If you don't, to be honest with you, you probably will, because you'll have Tommy D, and if he goes out there hurt and he gets sacked like he usually does, then you'll see Drew Lock. But as far as the Dallas Cowboys injury report, which I kind of went over a little bit in brief, Deron Bland limited. Kalen Carson did not practice, so that's big. Brandon Cooks limited. So he's slowly starting to make his way back from the knee injury. So maybe he doesn't play. Maybe he plays. I don't know. Trayvon Diggs, he was limited and then did not practice on Tuesday. So that's a big one. Chuma Doga full practice. Jake Ferguson did not practice. Full practice for Tyler Guyton. Eric Hendricks, groin shoulder injury. Did not practice the first 2 days. It doesn't say rest, so I'm gonna take a guess to say he's not gonna play. That will probably be hoisted, that position, by DeMarvion Overshone. Marshawn Nealon did not practice. CeeDee Lamb, limited. He'll be fine. Jordan Lewis, Hunter Lepke will be fine with neck and calf injuries, but they were full practice. Zach Martin did not practice. Asim Richards did not practice. Cooper Rush is fine. Tyler Smith is working his way back, which is good. And Nick Vigil, the linebacker, he did not practice. So, a couple of moving pieces still for this Dallas Cowboys team. So they could get Trayvon Diggs back. They could also save him at the same time, because if you want to say, okay, maybe the Cowboys can make this playoff run or this little smidge run at the end of the year, personally, I'd rather have Trayvon Diggs for the Bengals game, which they host in about a week. I think it's on Monday Night Football. Yeah, it is. And, you'd rather have him back for that game rather than the Giants, because the Giants don't do a good job of passing the football anyway, right? The Cowboys know very well what Tommy DeVito is capable of, because they saw last year in that 47-17 victory or something like that. They saw what happened. So I'm going to get another page up just in case, so we could look up Trayvon Diggs' stats, just in case he does play, but we also have to move into the team stats as per usual. So for the New York Giants offense, boring. 24th in total yards, 28th in passing, 19th in rushing, 32nd in scoring. Defensively, 19th in total yards, 7th against the pass, 30th against the run, and 17th in scoring. You move to the analytics side of the football, 9th in pass percentage, 24th in run percentage, 17th in pass percentage on first down, and 13th in run percentage on first down, 12th in blitz percentage, 14th in pressure percentage, and 5th in the NFL in sacks. They were once 1, now they are 5. You move to the Dallas Cowboys, 20th in total yards, 8th in passing. I don't know if that's a reflection on how good the Cowboys were in the first half of the season, and that's kind of like the cushion that still puts them in the top 10. It's very well possible. 31st in rushing. That is a component of things. And then 23rd in points per game, so 23rd in scoring. Move over to the defensive side of the ball. 27th in total yards, 21st against the pass, 31st against the run, and 31st in points per game. That's what happens when you have a defensive coordinator who has not coordinated a defense since the early 2010s. Moving forward, 2nd in pass percentage, 31st in run percentage, which explains the 31st in the run game on offense. 6th in pass percentage on first down, and 29th in run percentage on first down. 5th in blitz percentage, 5th in pressure percentage, and 15th in sacks. So, what are some things to look for as far as the game, right? What is game plan stuff, whatever. I'm going to shoot to one of the obvious ones, which is the rush is coming, ? The Cowboys are 15th in the NFL in sacks. They are 5th in blitz percentage, and they are 5th in pressure percentage, with a number of guys having some decent seasons. Now, Micah Parsons is at 5. Obviously, we'll get to more of the stats later, but I'm just giving you a little preview. Parsons at 5, Lawrence at 3, 5 for Overshone, and 3 for Carl Lawson, who was a former free agent of the New York Jets, the Cincinnati Bengals beforehand. So they're going to look to feast on this guy. They're going to look to feast on this cat. And if the Giants don't do the right things in terms of pass protection, in terms of an offensive philosophy, they are going to be in trouble, and Tommy DeVito will once again get hurt. Let's look at the amount of times that they sacked him last year. About 5 times, which is pretty on point for Tommy DeVito, considering his pocket presence really isn't that good. Hasn't gotten better. If anything, it's regressed, because I remember against the Packers, he was pretty good. He was manipulating that pocket. And then against the Saints, it got worse. Against the Eagles, it got bad. And then obviously we saw what happened last week. So I would say feeling is that Mike Zimmer is going to want to get this defense rolling. Thanksgiving, let's go after Tommy DeVito. Let's get a turkey leg, and let's sack the quarterback. Because they know either option, right, whether it's Drew Lock or Tommy DeVito or Tim Boyle even, is not going to be capable within the pocket. And not only is it Tommy DeVito, right? Let's just say he was decent as a pocket maneuverer. You have Evan Neal on the right side going up against Micah Parsons. You have Chauncey Golston. You have DeMarcus Lawrence. Lawrence could play either side, to be honest with you. So you have Lawrence, Golston, and a mixture of guys playing that other side with Chris Hubbard, who is absolutely abysmal in pass protection. Slightly worse than Evan Neal. So you have that. That is a part of the pass rush. Is it coming or whatnot? It's gonna go in. As far as more on the Giants' offense, quick throws, run game, competitive plan. You need to form some sort of an offensive philosophy. What I didn't get last week, and maybe I'm an idiot, maybe it's me and my lack of football experience, but I really didn't get as to why they didn't go after the quick passing game. Like Tommy DeVito is a bullet thrower. He's not a deep ball passer, right? When they came out of the gate in the first drive, they did running plays, and then the third play was a long developing play, and Tommy DeVito got sacked, and it was 4th down. Which, again, was very strange because sometimes if you run the ball on 1st down, you put yourself in that hole, especially after they make the adjustments after they give up an 18-yard run. But if you're Brian Dable, and this comes down to him, this is less of Kafka, less of tyranny. If you're him and you want to keep your job and you want to make this offense look semi-decent, you got to throw in the crossing routes, you got to throw in the slants, and the little stick concepts that you like to do with Daniel Jones. So those are 3 concepts of the same plan you got to throw in. Now, actually, you know what? Yeah, we're going to go into it. The Dallas Cowboys don't run the football that often. They don't. They are 31st in run percentage. The New York Football Giants rank 30th against the run defensively, and the Cowboys rank 31st against the run defensively. My intuition, Mike McCarthy's, he's a smart guy. He's not coaching well this season, and there's a lot of injuries on that side, and the Cowboys fans could talk more than I can. They're not going to sit here and play this game of, the Giants, we have injuries on our side of the ball. We're going to sit here and run it and play time of possession. The Cowboys are not going to do that. They are smart. The Giants will have to force them to do that, objectively. Now, that comes with a multitude of things. The Giants have to play well on the other side of the football with the defense. I could see more of a blitzing game plan from Shane Bowen. This is Cooper Rush. I mean, he's taken 7 sacks in the games he's played this season. Specifically last game against a Washington pass rush, Cooper Rush took 1 sack only and a total of 2 quarterback hits. So, considering, I don't know if it's the weak defensive line of the Commanders or it's the Cowboys' good offensive line, considering all the injuries. I don't know what it is. But let's not forget that with less talent, that's still on the team. Aziz Kayvon and Dex, Leo too, he's on the Seahawks, he's doing things, could not get to Cooper Rush against the Cowboys on Monday Night Football in 2022. They didn't sack him. Not once. Not once. Not at all. So, there's a bit of a point right there. Looks like he has good enough pocket presence for a backup quarterback. Interesting that he used to be a Giant for like 3 months. And then he went back to the Cowboys, but that's far and few between. So, as far as this game plan for both sides, for the Giants, let's start there. You have to compress them into a game plan of inches, trenches, and time of possession. You have to do that. Absolutely. Because you're not beating them. Cooper Rush is more of a capable quarterback, and the Cowboys are more of a capable offense than the Giants. It's not even arguable. So you have to force them. Knowing you have disadvantages on your side of the ball, you have to force them into a time of possession dirt battle, running the football on offense, any play action you could get, but that's far and few between because you have Evan Neal and Chris Hubbard at tackles. Quick passes, which should help you honestly, considering they have a depleted secondary. I mean, one or two deep shots won't hurt. It's not like DeVito's great on deep shots, but you don't know, right? There could be a flag thrown in at some point in the play. Which reminds me, for talking point purposes, I was talking about Daniel Bellinger's snap count before, right? Darius Slayton, how many snaps did he get on offense? Am I not looking at the right thing? Okay, I'm looking at something different. I'm sorry. I was looking at something different because apparently Dan Duggan didn't post the ones from this weekend. But nonetheless, we keep moving. We keep doing our thing. So, so what we have to do is run the football, play trenches, quick passes, any play action you can get, maybe a bootleg or two. But Tommy's got to throw that football. He's got to throw the football. He's got to get that ball out. He can't be afraid. And if you do these long developing plays, you better have max protect. And when you do have max protect, you can't sit here and have Tommy DeVito taking sacks and not trusting it. Now, defensively, how you buckle into that game plan is one of two things. You could either not blitz the shit out of them, but blitz effectively in your certain points, pinpoints that is, because this is a weak offensive line. And it's kind of sad that you only get pressure via blitzing. That shows the great investments we've put into this defensive line. But I digress. So you have that, or the other plan is to do what Brian Daboll wanted Wink to do last year, and he didn't do it until later in the game, which is play back, play zone, keep everything in front of you, force them to kick field goals, which Aubrey is a great field goal kicker. Pick him up on fantasy. So that's as far as that goes. Now, players to watch, Cooper Rush. I'm going to go over last game for him because I'm not really going to go over the games before that. This is the most recent. Cooper Rush, as I said, 24-32, 2 touchdowns, 247 yards, 1 sack taken. He did fumble once, but he ended up recovering it. So that's his stat line. As far as the rushing game, Rico Dowdle is their number one back. Zeke, I guess, seems washed, but you never know because he always has these breakout games against the Giants. He's got no touchdowns this season, Rico Dowdle. But he's got 488 yards, 112 carries, 4.4 yards per pop, and no carries over 20 yards. So, short distance back. That's all I will say. And considering the analytics, still, and Cooper Rush has started a few games for Dallas, I believe. Yeah, let's see. Washington, what was before that? Washington, played against Houston, played against Philadelphia. So he's got 3 games of decent action under him. They still rank second in pass percentage across the NFL, so they still have the conviction to stick to their guns. But you move forward to the receiving core, CeeDee Lamb. He's about, let's do the math, 159 yards from 1,000. If this game goes to shit really quickly, he could go to 1,000. 4 touchdowns on the season, 10 catches over 20, 1 fumble lost. 10.9 yards per catch. The second leading receiver is Jalen Tolbert. 4 touchdowns, 4 plays over 20, 11.1 yards per reception, 410 yards, and 37 receptions. CeeDee Lamb is going to be that big, meaty target for Cooper Rush since Jake Ferguson is going to be out. So there is that. Deonte Banks and Jason Pinnock, or Tyler Nubin if you're going to throw him in there, is probably going to be set up with that assignment. Kevontae Turpin, he's been getting some action, obviously, with injuries. 2 touchdowns, 275 yards, 13.1 yards per reception, and 21 catches. Rico Dowdle's also factoring in there, 3 receiving touchdowns. Jalen Brooks has also gotten in on the action, 148 yards on 9 catches. And Luke Shoemaker, 167 yards, 1 touchdown, and 17 catches. And for you Cowboy fans out there, I don't know if I think it might be still on my channel. I believe it is. And either way, it's going to be on his channel too. Check out the interview with your third tight end, Brevin Spanford. It is in the Senior Bowl interview playlist. Our buddy Brian Mansell. And I'm really excited for the Senior Bowl this year. Number one, because it's the second year, we're making adjustments. And, Cam Ward just got invited to the Senior Bowl, so hopefully he accepts. But you guys can check that out. As far as the offensive line, I will factor in Tyler Smith in just a second. Tyler Guyton, 16 penalties and 5 sacks. So if you're Brian Burns or you're Kayvon Thibodeau, you'd like to have a good game. TJ Bass, 1 penalty, 1 sack. As far as Tyler Smith, 7 penalties and 1 sack if he does play. Cooper Beebe, 3 penalties, 3 sacks. Brock Hoffman, the right guard, 1 penalty, 0 sacks. And Terrence Steele, 3 penalties, 9 sacks. So on one tackle side, you have a guy that gets a lot of penalties. On one tackle side, the other one, you have a guy that gives up a lot of sacks. So pick your poison. Pick your poison. Before we get to the defense, just a reminder for you folks out there, you get $20 off your online order with the promo code Big Blue in the Bronx. When you go to SeatGeek, you're going to a concert, parking pass for a tailgate, or you are going to a ball game of some sort. Maybe it's a Thanksgiving game or games, depending on what fan you are. $20 off your online order, Big Blue in the Bronx. That's a promo code on SeatGeek. I was going to go over Eric Kendricks, but seeing the injury report, it doesn't look like he's going to play. But we have rushers to go over. We got Micah Parsons, 25 tackles, 11 quarterback pressures, 11 quarterback hits, 25 QB pressures, 5 TFLs, and 5 sacks. You have DeMarvion Overshown, 75 tackles, 5 sacks, 8 TFLs, 11 quarterback pressures, and 5 quarterback hits. He's got it taken. Not that he plays the same role as him, but it seems like he plays that mixture of a linebacker position. It's like, for me, watching him, it's like in the middle between a Marquise Bell and a Micah Parsons. He's like a hybrid in sorts, but he's a very good player. DeMarcus Lawrence, 14 tackles, 3 sacks, 4 TFLs, 10 quarterback pressures, and 5 quarterback hits. And Carl Lawson, 10 tackles, 3 sacks, 2 TFLs, 8 quarterback hits, and 9 QB pressures. You move to the secondary, and it is bummed out a little bit. Trayvon Diggs, I'll get to in just a second, just in case he does play. You do have Jordan Lewis, who's been mostly healthy. 65.6 completion percentage and coverage allowed. 4 pass deflections, 0 INTs, 1 touchdown, 88.7 passer rating, which is pretty good. You have Israel Mukwamu, who played last game. I think he gave up one of the final touchdowns of the game. But nonetheless, 1 pass deflection, 1 INT. I think it was the INT he actually got, so my bad. 42.9 completion percentage, 25 passer rating. Obviously, he hasn't played too much, so that's that's kind of a skewed stat. Deron Bland, there are no stats on him in coverage, but he did play last game very much so against the Washington Commanders. You have Trayvon Diggs, who could come back for this game possibly. 57.8 completion percentage, 3 touchdowns, 83.9 completion percentage, and he's got 2 interceptions. So between him and Deron Bland, you got 2 ball hawks on that side of the football. And if they choose to take him off the practice squad, you got Josh Butler, who played last game. 66.7 completion percentage, 1 touchdown, 149.3 passer rating. He started 2 games in 4 total games this season. So, final stuff before we get you out of here, right? Keys to win. Number 1 is you got to run the football. You got to run the football. And it's 1 and 2 that really stack up with each other, as I talked about at the beginning of the show, which is run the football and time of possession. So that's 1 and 2. You got to run the football. That is one of their weaknesses on the defense. Obviously, they have a depleted secondary, but we know the Giants are not going to be this prowess, power, passing offense. Go through the trenches. Neal's a good run blocker. Hubbard's a good run blocker. And win in that style of football. Not that you want to out of choice, but you kind of have to. It's a forced thing. Number 2 is time of possession, as I talked about. Not only do you have to do your job on the offensive side of the football, the defensive side of the football, you have to. Get to Cooper Rush, right? I think Bowen will do his fair share of blitzes on third down. Cooper Rush has probably learned from Dak Prescott in terms of pocket maneuvering and all that sort of good stuff. That's why he only got sacked one time last week against the Commandos, if you want to call them that. But they also have 2 wins against us on the year. So time of possession, again, you're not only doing your stuff on the offensive side of the football, defensive side of the football, you got to take care of your business. Don't give up too many touchdowns, too many big plays. Keep everything in front of you, kind of like you did the first game with Dak Prescott. So that's that. And number 3 is, in my opinion, you got to get to Cooper Rush. Force a turnover. He's not turnover prone, but he's also like not totally. It's not like he's some, he never turns over the football. He can, trust me. I think he did once or twice in that Texan game a few weeks ago on Monday Night Football. So you got to get to Cooper Rush. I think that's big. That would really settle the back end of your defense. Whether you have Banks or Flott or Banks and Jackson or whoever you have, that would really give them a load off of the back. So run the ball, time possession, and get to Cooper Rush. Score prediction. Let me go and say the Cowboys are going to win this one 25-10. 25-10, Dallas Cowboys victory on Thanksgiving 2024. And I will say, besides the fact that I'm thankful that this season is almost over, I'm thankful for each and every one of you guys as supporters going into, you could say, yeah, this is technically 4 years that I'm doing this, but this is my 5th football season, I believe. 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, yeah. 5th football season. So appreciate you guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Use the SeatGeek code. Turn on post notifications so you know when a live stream pops video drops. I appreciate y'all. Share this out. We'll be back with a recap podcast episode on Saturday, likely. And then we'll move forward. Probably not another podcast coming out until the following Saturday. I'll try to mix some videos in between that because it is a mini bye for the Giants. Appreciate you guys. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. Don't throw up your turkey or whatever you do have on Thanksgiving watching the Giants. Keep that blood pressure low. I appreciate you guys, and we will talk to you soon.